Now, in the decade of the 2000s, this is really the period that Singapore became a global city. We had, of course, initially, the first few years of the decade, the problems of 9/11, and the world was in a recession, and Singapore was in a bad shape. And in fact, the market was quite despondent, and that's why Marina Bay had very few takers. There was the SARS period, there was the tsunami. It was actually disaster upon disaster, and so there was not much interest in real estate development. But of course, unbeknownst to us real estate developers, Singapore was marching ahead, and what I think was the most important was that Singapore and the Singapore agencies began to really know how to sell Singapore. So you can see that when Alan took on the job as a general manager of URA, he told you that he had to market and market and market. And so he was probably the first great marketeer. And Wenjin as well in doing planning and concept or conservation programs and so also has to market, and of course Kun Hian and URA and STB as well. So I think the 2000s to me is characterized by the fact that Singapore began to know how to sell itself, because we were no longer pitching to a local or regional audience, but to an international audience, and therefore products like Sentosa Cove were attractive, and all the products that we churn out became very attractive, and we see a lot of Chinese buyers, international buyers, to the chagrin of local Singaporeans. But that is a very important period in this urban transformation, because without this ability to communicate and inform, and here I want to just tell you very quickly what I learned from a Catholic priest, Monsignor Vaz, about transformation. That transformation must start with information, inform, and the next is formation, form. So inform, form, transform. Not original, so it's attributed to Monsignor Vaz. But information is very important, and that is what the government has done very, very well. The plans have done very well. They've communicated, and at the same time, they formed the basis of the product. I mean, in Singapore, the infrastructure, the economic engines, the very good transportation, the high accessibility. In fact, today in Singapore, there is no bad site. As a developer, I'd like to tell you, there's no bad site in Singapore. 710 square kilometers, 5.4 million people, going to a population of 6.9 million people eventually, high penetration of MRT network and MRT station. I see some smiles. I'm not trying to sell anything. It's the government's job to do that. But I'd like to tell you that there are no bad sites in Singapore. So you can see why there are international developers that come to Singapore and Chinese developers that come to Singapore and just bid, without care, because it is, to them it doesn't matter. You can hit anything, it's going to be a good investment ultimately. And I would like to observe this and share this observation with you, that other than London, there's no other city with such a high participation of international developers as in Singapore. In Singapore, we have developers from Australia, funds. We have US funds that come to develop, like LaSalle Brothers. We have the local Singaporeans, we have Malaysians, we have Indonesians, we have Chinese, we have Hong Kong developers. We have very deep and large base of demand. A lot of them obviously bid. And just as what Wenjin said, that when my father saw the site in Marina Bay, he says, I want that site. All developers say, I want this site. Today in Singapore, everybody wants this site, but in every bid, there can only be one winner. So there are usually 11 or 12 other losers. So it shows that the communication, the information, and the formation has really taken place very, very well. And to the extent that you see this urban transformation